49 years, history has been broken in one night. An international friendly between the Eagles, that's the battle of the Eagles, the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Eagles of Mali. We have a lot of reaction coming from that result for the Tuesday international friendly match in Marrakesh, Morocco. Away from that, on the international scene, I would say the draws for the Euro 2024, the teams that will go in each group has been done and dusted, and we know we'll be battling for the championship for 2024. These are many more we have on the show today. I am Onyinyechi Ogu-Obaroh. It is in the game. You can follow, like our social media platforms at News Central TV. Do not forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hashtag in the game, join the conversation. We want to feel your feedback. As we do it on the show, let's give you our top 5 stories making the rounds in the world of sport. Not good news for three-time African champions, silver medalists from the 2023 African Cup of Nations. The season could yet be over for Moses Simon after he got injured in his knee during Nigeria's Super Eagles 2-0 loss to the Eagles of Mali on Tuesday night in that international friendly game played in Marrakesh, Morocco. The Nantes of France winger was stretched off the pitch after colliding with the Malian goalkeeper in the 29th minute. The sad injury occurred a few minutes after he should have leveled the scoreline at 1-1. Alex Iwobi had sent Moses Simon free on goal, but the winger overhit his first touch against the Malian goalkeeper. Subsequent examinations confirmed a fracture of the fibula. Its unavailability is unfortunately estimated at several months. That's for the Nantes winger. FC Nantes already are keen to provide full support to the winger and wishes him speedy recovery. Sad news there for Moses Simon. All right, moving away from that, so talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, former Super Eagles coach Philippe Trouzier, who qualified Nigeria for France's '98 World Cup, has been sacked by Vietnam after his side 3-0 defeat to Indonesia in the third round of the Asia's preliminary round for the 2026 World Cup on Tuesday. The Vietnam Football Federation did announce today. The Frenchman, famously known as the White Witch Doctor for his belief in witchcraft, took over from Park Hang-seo last year. He was given a second chance by Nigeria in 2005. He walked off just as he was expected to fly down for a contract signing. He was suspected to have done so to pay Nigeria back for an earlier sacking. He has since made a tour of the globe to South Africa, Burkina Faso, Japan, Qatar, and now Vietnam, where he has been sacked following that loss to Hanoi, of course, which was the second defeat in 6 days against the Indonesians and has left Vietnam in third place in the qualifying Group F. Only the top 2 from each of the 9 groups in the second phase of Asia's preliminary tournament will reach the next stage of the competition. But Vietnam will get to that stage. That's if, now that they've lost twice, they will not get to that stage and they will be without their coach, Thursday. Talking about basketball right now, FIBA Africa held its first central board meeting for the 2023-2027 cycle over the weekend in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. FIBA Africa President Annibal Maneuve and the newly elected Ivorian basketball president Moussa Diarra opened proceedings by offering a warm welcome to the delegates. Côte d'Ivoire was awarded the hosting right for the 2025 FIBA Women's Afro Basket, and the 12th Nation tournament will take place in July next year in Abidjan. The West African country will organize a FIBA Continental Cup for the first time since 2013 FIBA Afro Basket. Delegates were informed that the 2025 FIBA Women's Afro Basket qualifiers will take place over 3 qualifying windows from July 2024 to February 2025. The 2023 Women's Afro Basket semi-finalists, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali and Rwanda, are automatically qualified to the next biennial African competition. Angola was confirmed as the host country for the 2025 FIBA Afro Basket. The Southern African nation will organize a 16-team event for the first time since 2007. Good precedents coming from the FIBA meeting the first time, talking about the 2023 cycle to 2027. All right, away from here to the Super Bowl. What has to do with the Super Bowl? Former New England Patriots cornerback and Super Bowl hero Malcolm Butler was arrested earlier this month for drunk driving. Police in North Province, of course, Rhode Island, revealed on Tuesday. According to the police report, Butler was arrested back on Saturday, March 16. A patrolman said he saw a white Mercedes-Benz stopped and blocking traffic on Mineral Spring Avenue just after 3 a.m. The officer spoke with the driver, later identified as Butler, who said he was coming from a studio in the Providence. The patrolman said he noticed a strong odor of alcoholic beverage coming from his breath. According to the police report, but he 24. Do not drink while driving. So he knew and says, take me to jail. Finally, in our top 5 story, the Olympic flame is set to burn at Tuileries Garden in front of the Louvre Museum for the duration of Paris Games in July and August. A source involved in the discussion has revealed the decision to place the Olympic cauldron in the tourist hotspot in the center of the city was taken several weeks ago. The source did say on condition of anonymity. There had been speculations the flame might be placed in the Eiffel Tower, but the Tuileries Garden emerged as the first choice because of the ease of access for the public. The source revealed also. It is unclear if the cauldron will be lit inside the Tuileries or whether it will be transferred there after unprecedented opening ceremony on July 26, 2024. We are counting down to the start of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Of course, that touch there is a symbol that the game will surely go on in the French capital. There you have it, our top 5 stories at this time. We'll return with more updates in the world of sport. We're going to discuss fully what really happened in Marrakesh, Morocco for that international friendly match between Mali and Nigeria. Don't go anywhere, and the game continues. Welcome back. You're still watching in the game. If you just joined us, I am Onyinyechi Ogu-Obaroh. We just wrapped up our top 5 stories. So if you want to get more, get to follow, like our social media platforms at News Central TV. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, time to go deeper into the world of sport. I've got with me in the studio, in-house analyst, my very own colleague, Favour Itua. Thank you so much, Favour. It's good to do this with you today.
Yes, of course, Onyinyechi Ogu-Obaroh. It's a pleasure. And when it comes to sport, let's rock and roll. Let's
rock and roll indeed. But I'll start up with women. Let's give women the center stage right now. The NWFL, we have fixtures for Group A and Group B of the competitions for the season. Adamawa Queens will be up against Niger Rattles for Group A. Royal Queens up against Confluence Queens. Heartland Queens will take on Abia Angels FC, while Nasarawa Amazons will be up against Danaz Ladies. In Group B, we'll see Bayelsa Queens against Remo Star Ladies. FC Robo Queens against Ekiti Queens. Edo Queens will take on Sunshine Queens, and Rivers Angels, who suffered in the hands of Edo Queens before now, will take on Delta Queens. Remember that this fixture was that of the Super Six, of course, last year. I remember, of course, Rivers Angels and Delta. They could not keep calm there. But that's what it's going to be, Group A, Group B. Favour?
Yes, fantastic fixture for the Nigeria Women Football League. For the Group A fixtures, we'll get to look at the Southeast Derby involving Heartland and Abia Angels. That's a big one, especially with the resurgent Heartland Queens going away from home to pick points. And then for Abia Angels having one of the assistant coaches of the Super Falcons, and Chijine, in the DMs of affairs. She's going to bring in her A game, hosting that game at home. Then the Group B fixture, I think arguably the biggest fixture for today in the Nigeria Women Football League has to be with the game involving Rivers Angels and Delta Queens. The rivalry is not, it didn't start today. It's been long there. Considering the fact that it's going to be a short trip also.
And they also lost a game before
against Edo Queens. Fixture, and I think for Rivers Angels right now, they know what to do. They know that they have to get a win, knowing fully well that they are currently second on the table, and they need to, consolidate and get back to winning ways, especially after that loss against Edo Queens. One thing that is key is the fact that Delta Queens that won the league last season, they've not been able to replicate the form. I mean, they're struggling. Tosa Black's inside has been struggling, this season. They are currently 6th on the log. That shows you that it's not the same momentum, not the same fire. Yes, they won the reverse fixture against Rivers Angels, 2-0, but they will be looking at, causing.
So will you say that them winning the trophy the season last time was just a fluke, luck, or something because they hosted?
It was not a fluke because they kept an unbeaten record to the Super Six. They didn't lose any of the game. Anytime they go away from home, they are not winning the games. They are either drawing, but it was not about the losses. And also, we must also talk about the fact that some players left the squad to other teams. Edo Queens came in to pick some players. Not also forgetting Rivers Angels. Some of them also went outside of the country, and that has been the case for table toppers and teams who have done well in the Nigerian Women Football League in the past. They go to either France, they go to the European countries, or go to China, and which of course has also shown that the league has lots of talents that other countries are outside of Nigeria looking forward to tap into. But we expect it to be the very best. White Ogbonna knows Delta Queens very well.
Now, talking about White Ogbonna, I know Edwin Okon has been the coach, a long-time serving coach of the Rivers Angels. But now a change in the button there. Do you think that's the reason why Rivers are, having a very poor run of form?
Well, for Rivers Angels, technically, they've not been able to hold their ground away from home, but they've been able to get, the points needed to win games at home. They are currently second on the log, which is not bad when you look at what they've been able to do. The target at the moment is to get to the Super Six, which will determine who wins the league and who qualifies to play the playoffs that would bring out the team that represents West Africa at the CAF Women Champions League. So I think for White Ogbonna, he's not really done badly. I mean, considering that also he had to sign some new players. He's also trying to understand the players he has. Don't forget, the players that were there before were signed by...
But this is a championship side, this side that has been to the CAF Women's Champions League before. You shouldn't be testing any coach.
Another factor that would also come in is the fact that Rivers Angels, before now, played their game at the University of Port Harcourt Sports Complex. Right now, they play at the Adokia and Mercy Maka Stadium. Now, when you compare the size and measurement of the pitch and where they have their fan base, the distance between the Adokia and Mercy Maka Stadium to town is close to an hour. And compared to the University of Port Harcourt's pitch, which of course is close to town, is along the East-West Road, a lot of persons can actually access and support the team. So right now, they're also struggling with the fact that the games are no longer played where they already know and they've mastered. They're playing home away from home in the sense that they're playing in a more wider pitch, and they have to also acclimatize. And the fact that they have to deal with, nearly empty stadium, I think that will also play, a role in that. But at the end of the day, they are professionals. And if they get a win today, they would also push on to qualify, because 3 teams will qualify from the group, and they're currently second compared to Delta Queens, are currently 6th.
Okay, let's listen to the coach of Rivers Angels right now, White Ogbonna. He has a lot of expectation ahead of this clash against Delta Queens.
I would say that the players are ready for the match against Delta Queens tomorrow. We are able to correct the mistakes we discovered in the match. Starting from the defense to the attack in that dome match, I think we corrected the mistake, and as you know, I think we had a lot of goal scoring chances, and the attackers lost the chances, so we try to correct the chances so that whenever they have an opportunity of goal scoring, I think they have to utilize it. Tomorrow's match, Rivers Angel and the supporters tomorrow should expect a total 100% attacking football against Delta Queens come tomorrow.
White Ogbonna over there, of course, they're having to call for fans to come in and support the girls. But these fans, Favour will keep saying it, women's football need these eyeballs. It needs fan support. But it seems we're not getting it even at this season.
Well, I think for the Nigerian Women Football League, don't forget we have a new board in Nigerian Women Football League. The last season, we had, the last 2 seasons, we had the Aisha Falode board. Now we have the Ikechi Obi's board. Yes, they've been trying to do a lot of things to ensure that our games are on TV, but they can actually do more. And for the club side, it's time also to tap into the corporate social responsibility. Now, these players, how many persons will be able to identify an FC Robo Queens player in Lagos and say, this player plays for FC Robo Queens? How many persons will see a Rivers Angels player in Port Harcourt and say, this player, I know this player? That's to show you that lots of things needs to be done by exposure for these ladies. And the women's football has become a joy to to behold. We saw the last World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, the number of attendants in the World Cup. Also, the final of the WAFU, the All African Games women's game that involved Nigeria and Ghana in Cape Coast. We saw the massive turnout. That's to show you that everybody is doing a lot of things to expose the women's game, and that's why also FIFA and his own angle and CAF are doing everything possible to also expose. So right here in Nigeria, it's a clarion call. I mean, something we must do. But then again, you ask yourself, even the men's game, the Nigerian Premier Football League, how many centers would even produce 5,000 persons in the stadium?
On match day 27, I saw something very interesting. The crowd over there at the stadium in the north. It's encouraging,
Yeah, the northern part of the country, I must say, any day, anytime, they produce the most crowd when it comes to our local football. I remember some years ago, I was in Kano, the Sani Abacha Stadium, and I could see the number of persons that came out to watch Kano Pillars play. And you ask yourself, Kano Pillars, yes, they actually come out to play. In Bauchi, you get to see people come out to watch Wiki Tourists of Bauchi. We also saw crowd again in the game involving Doma United, the newly promoted side in Gombe State. So the northern part of Nigeria, give it to them when it comes to supportership and how they also play their club.
They can, give this orientation to the southern, the eastern part, so they can support their teams. Well, let's look at the standings right now. Group A, Group B of the Nigerian Women's Football League. Of course, there are some table toppers goes in that standing, but I am particular about those who are at the bottom, Oshun Babes and Ibom Angels.
Yes, for Oshun Babes and Ibom Angels, when you look at what they've been able to do, they've not been consistent, especially for Oshun Babes. Don't forget, Oshun Babes, over time, they've had to deal with relegation. They go in, they go back, and yes, they have a new government also who came in last year. Maybe they can actually invest. Don't forget, the governor was at one of the team's first game of the season.
I thought that would have helped, boost their performance. Now they are getting the government support.
Well, it could be a show of paparazzi also. Don't forget where...
You mean an audio promise?
Audio promise. But I think for Oshun Babes, they need to really invest in terms of signing quality players.
Okay.
Lots of the very best of players in the Nigerian Women's Football League are seen in the likes of Edo Queens, Bayelsa Queens, Delta Queens, Rivers Angels. The rest are going for a discovery in terms of having to get players from the grassroots, raw talent. And when you want to wait for them to, materialize and get to win you medals or trophies, some of them or some of the teams have been relegated at that time. So I think it's high time for more investment. We also need to call for more investment from the respective governments, and also the clubs need to also look for fundings, aside depending on the state government. Yes, it's a state government team, but what about also ensuring that you market your team? Look at what Enugu Rangers is doing at the moment, getting sponsors left, right, center. Yes, there are also responsibilities of the Enugu state government, but if you know
the sponsors we're talking about also, we should talk about the kits. Kits also can help push the league, because we can use homemade kits, not those who come from the foreign, and you want to use all foreign kit designs. Homemade kits also can sponsor a particular team in the league. I've seen a lot the Rangers, Enugu Rangers, coming up with their kit design, beautiful. We've seen Remo Stars. Maybe they can also transcend the same thing to the Remo ladies too, don't you think?
Well, it's easy to say, but one thing you should also talk about is the aspect of these teams being, in terms of the sponsors, most of the sponsors are from the owner of the club. For instance, we know of Remo Stars, the owner of the club. We know what he has been able to do in investment.
If you're the owner of the club, I shouldn't call you a sponsor, should I? You're funding your business.
Then, maybe except for the likes of Rangers, Abia Warriors, there's a jersey sponsor space. But then you also need to ask yourself, what is the return of investment? Now, if I'm putting my money to sponsor the shirts, be the shirt sponsor for Rivers Angels, what am I going to get? Now, you look at Rivers Angels, they're relatively not, yes, they're one of the most successful teams in Nigeria. But when it comes to what they can give back to you, you definitely put it in Naira and Kobo. It's not up to what you're investing. So it's also a wake-up call for the club side. They have to put themselves strategically to a place whereby they are, they can easily get the sponsors, in the nearest future. It's not just about calling for sponsors or private sponsors. What about what about what the club is doing also to get the sponsors? Okay,
we're hoping that this clarion call will be heard by the league organizers. Of course, when Nkechi Obi came in, we expected a lot of difference, in the league. A lot of changes from the league. They have it, those fixtures expected in the Nigerian Women's Football League. Let's go to men's football right now. On the domestic scene, we'll start from the Moroccan Cup. We have fixtures to expect today, and that will be, of course, Casablanca will be up against Wydad FES, while Oja will take on, of course, Cathedra de Union Sportive. Mal will take on Adra Sus. That's for the Moroccan Cup. Now going to the big business of the day, international friendly. The window is already closed because we'll go back to league football very soon. But to remind you the results from the games we did see for Tuesday, Mali went up against Nigeria in that battle of the Eagles. But the Malians are the ones who are taking the last laugh. Of course, we could see a defensive blip there from the Super Eagles of Nigeria, especially for the man they call Chidozie Awazie, gave Mali their first goal against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Then they consolidated that lead in the second half, having to score 2 against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Favour, let's go straight into this conversation because Nigerian fans are really upset with the performance from yesterday. Let's hear from the coach himself and the standing captain, Kenneth Omeroh, what they had to say after that performance. And when we come back, we'll be reacting to the performance of the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Just few mistakes that cost us the match. It was not a bad game. Good intensity. We created a couple of chances. We didn't score. And, you know, a game like this, if you don't score and you make some mistakes, I think you'll be punished. But I think I'm happy with the way the boys played. And, yeah, it's quite positive, not bad at all. You see, this is a team that keeps the ball very well. If we had used one striker, I think we would have changed that striker immediately. You know, so using 2 strikers, I think helped us, forced them to play wide. Yeah, where we could press a little bit more. But it's an aggressive team. We know. We talked about it. But yeah, football being what it is, it's all about victory. But I'm looking at other aspects of the game.
I think we played better second half. You know, overall it wasn't a bad game. We just didn't take our chances and we considered, you know, two goals. Overall, I think we played a good game. It's good. It's fantastic. I will not talk about the players that are not here, you know, but at least we could play, you know, good football between ourselves and yeah.
And we have heard from the interim coach, Finidi George, and standing captain, Kenneth Omeroh. Now the big question, what happened? Favour, the last time Mali defeated the Super Eagles of Nigeria was on the 5th of September, 1975. I say it again, 1975. So a streak that has been held for 49 years has been broken. I did say in that game, Favour, for almost 25 minutes in action there, Super Eagles could not string 3 passes together. They were totally outplayed and outnumbered. No single shot on target in that game against Mali. Favour, what's your first reaction?
Well, it was a disappointing one, irrespective of the fact that he was a friendly. One thing that also, you know, got everyone talking was the fact that we decided to use same approach against Ghana than against Mali. Yes, Finidi George, this is his first second game in charge of the Super Eagles on the interim basis. Yeah. Let's not also forget that he was part of Jose Pesiero's side at the just concluded African Cup of Nations, which of course Mali were part of it. Mali struggled all through the group stages, went into the knockout round and got to the semi-finals of the African Cup of Nations.
Draw until the quarterfinals.
So it showed that they were able to also play so deep to the extent that they were able to, you know, reduce the number of goals or try to be defensive and have the opportunity to just score 1 or 2 goals and move to the next round.
But why couldn't just string passes together? First 25 minutes, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, if you need the George kind of tactics, deployed the 3-man defense, he played the 3-5-2 formation.
Was that where the mistake came from?
Yeah, I think it didn't work out, especially with the kind of players we have. Now, the kind of players we have, when you look at the defense, we have sluggish defenders, meaning that for you to play a 3-5-2 formations, you must have fast wing backs. And who were the wing backs deployed yesterday on the Tuesday evening? Bright to say, Chidozie Awaziem was on the right-hand side. Then we had also Jamilu Collins playing out wide on the left.
You think that was where the wrong call was?
Yes, they were also part of the reasons we had difficulty in passing the ball. So when you're playing wing back, you should not be found around the back 3. You should be able to space out, move up a bit. When you move up a bit to the midfield, you allow spaces for the 3 defenders to spread and then, you know, go all the way. But we saw that Jamilu Collins and Bright Osai Samuel were just around the half of the Nigerian side. And then, the truth is, not every player can play from the back.
Okay.
Not every player can actually play from the back.
I just saw that horrendous pass by Chidozie Awaziem that led to the Malian, you know, having to strike first with the goal. He was trying to play from the back passes. Well, and the ball went to the wrong hands. When did we begin the back pass?
I did not think it started today. We've deployed 3-man defense before now. Prior to the Russia 2018 World Cup, we played a friendly against England. It was a 3-man defense. But then we had the fast defender, Truce Ekong, who was also part of the team.
So you mean that we really missed Truce Ekong?
We missed Truce Ekong. Don't
forget,
back
line?
The first time we played the game at the Nations Cup, we lost, or we drew that game against Equatorial Guinea. It was a 4-man defense. We switched immediately to the 3-man defense. What really helped the Nigerian squad was Truce Ekong because he was the fastest amongst the centre-backs we had on the day. And he's absent in the team. Semi Ajayi is not fast compared to also Kenneth Omeru. I mean, he's not a fast defender. So we needed...
But he was overworked yesterday.
He was overworked, but he was one of the culprits for the second goal. When you look at the second goal, you also need to look at Kenneth Omeru's positioning, even though Siri Desas dropped the ball. So I think for Finidi George, he stuck to the tactics that he used against Ghana, but he has forgotten that they were not the same person that played in those positions. For instance, Rafael Onyedika came into the midfield, compared to where we had a Frank Oyeka play with Wilfred Onyinyechi. And this is the first time both of them are playing together in that same position. Now, come to the wing back. Jamilu Collins did not start the first game. It was Bruno Onyinyechi that started the first game. So we had a Jamilu Collins at this time, at this point in time. So I think for Finidi George, he was bent on winning the game or trying to prove a point than understanding the fact that he should use these friendlies to actually experiment and do a lot of things. Now, after we were trailing by a goal to nothing, there were opportunities for him to have made selections from the bench or make substitutions.
Okay, Favour, let's. Sorry to hold you on that thought. Let's look at the starting 11 used by Coach Finidi. Of course, I could see Stanley Nwabali, Bright Osai in the starting lineup. Jamilu Collins, Omeru, Awaziem, Semi Ajayi, Alex Iwobi, Simon, Onyedika, Raphael, Wilfred Ndidi, yes, Iheanacho. Meanwhile, Finidi chose to keep Desas on the bench, Lukman on the bench, and play Iheanacho and Moses Simon up front. Was that starting 11 balanced, Favour?
Yeah, it was not balanced for me. It was not balanced. I mean, for you to start, when I saw the formation, I actually faulted the inclusion of Iheanacho pairing with Moses up front. When you're playing a three-man defense, the first point of defense comes from the two forwards.
Yes.
Now, whenever the defenders, your opposite defense are with the ball, you charge them up front. And we saw that Iheanacho did not do that. Moses Simon also gave them space to also push to the midfield. That is why you could also witness at that point in time that the defenders also had issues. The midfielders dropped deep. Alex Iwobi went back. The likes of Ndidi started playing as a defender because the strikers or the forwards were not helping them also in terms of marking. Maybe a Sadiq Umar, a lot of persons said he was fasting, but then you also ask yourself, the Mali players, most of them are Muslims. They were also fasting on the day.
I wish you could see that game on air right now because, Favour, the truth is, I was wondering what kind of style the Super Eagles played. Why? Well, this is a friendly. It's a friendly. You can try every single player. When he tried Bruno Onyinyechi, for the friendly against Ghana, I was really impressed that, okay, yes, it's time to try these new players. You would have given the likes of Francis Uzo or Olorunleke Ojo a chance in this kind of game. You had the likes of Nathan Teller. You had Tom Delo Bashuru on the bench. You had Bruno Onyinyechi on the bench. You had Tanimu Benjamin on the bench. What are you keeping these players on the bench for? You made few substitutions.
A lot of persons have also made that question, asked that question. Also, some would say that he did not have anybody to help him think. Now, don't forget, he came into this friendlies as the only person aside the goalkeeper trainer and the backroom staff.
Yes, so he had no technical crew.
He was a kit person. He was the trainer. He was the fitness trainer. He was the assistant coach. He was the match reader. So everything was just on the table of Finidi George. He went into this, and from what we hear from our colleagues in Morocco, he was also the one setting cones for them in training.
So, Favour, will you say it's too early to criticize Finidi George at this time?
I would also, in as much as I'm trying to cut him some slacks, but then you had the opportunity to say no to, going for this friendly. It was not as if there was, you had something on your head that you had to go for these friendlies. So, I think the NFF set him up to fail. I mean, because if you look at it, why would you send a coach or why would you send somebody to go and work for you without giving him the necessary tools? And then as a coach, you know that you need these persons to work effectively. Why did you go ahead to take the opportunity to coach? So I think he wanted to prove a point. Oh, I'm the right man for the job. And then first game was, Finidi ball. The second game now is now bringing us back to reality that we need someone different. Or maybe we need something better or stronger or whatever the case it be. Because when you look at it, Finidi George has been with the team over the years. He knows each and every player's ability because he has been with Jose Peseiro at least almost 2 years. So why would you tell me that a Sadiq Umar, who has an opportunity to charge the players up front, if you notice, the defenders of Mali started working when Siri Desas came on. Yes, he missed a sitter. They were able to still come close to him, but when it was the time for Moses Simon and Kelechi Iheanacho, you could see that they were really not disturbed about who was striking for Nigeria. Some would say we didn't have the best of our players, but it's a friendly. England played a friendly and made use of over 6 substitutions.
Okay, Favour, do you think he wanted to go with the style of Jose Peseiro, playing from the defensive and not, going with an approach of a counter-attack? Because I did see that it seems he picked the Jota of Jose Peseiro as the coach of the Super Eagles, to just reenact that same tactics. Do the Super Eagles need more offensive attack? Should the coach have also tried something, better up front, even after Moses Simon's injury?
Well, for Finidi George, yes, as the coach, he has a UEFA Pro license. But one thing we also would love to tell him, and I also love to tell him, is the fact that, yes, Nigeria, at some point in time, the first 25 minutes was shambolic. It was not what we expected from the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But Nathan Teller, who plays at the left, he's a wing back in the German Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen. He plays from the wing back position, meaning he would have just fit into Jamilu Collins' role. That is where he plays for in the German Bundesliga. So you did not even give him a minute. In 180 minutes, Nathan Teller came to the national team without tasting 1 minute of action.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question right now. Do you still have faith that Finidi George is the best man for the job?
Well, before now, if I was given the opportunity to say something before now and even now, I never at one point thought that he was the right man for the job, in the sense that, yes, he's a good coach. He has done a lot for Eimba.
But when he
he can actually work with someone, instead of leaving him alone for now. Maybe in the next few years, you might be able to say, okay, because this is an acid test for him. Some will say, yes, he gave us a win against Ghana in how many years? We've not won against Ghana. Oh, let's,
But when he won against Ghana, everyone was full of praise for Finidi George until the game on Tuesday against Mali. We saw some social media posts having to, criticize his decision. Just like
a proverb that says, a road does not lead to the market. We have different roads to the market. So as a coach, you don't have one tactics. So if a tactics does not work, you switch to plan B. If plan B does not work, you switch to plan C. The ability for a coach to, use plethora of, tactics shows how, advanced and how well he can manage a team. According to reports we were hearing from Morocco, after that game against Mali, some players went into a meeting with Finidi George and expressed their displeasure at not playing any minute in that game. Some of them, according to reports, were likes of Nathan Teller, amongst others, that were not really happy. Even Sadiq Umar. And the excuse for Sadiq Umar was he was fasting. And I still ask again, were the Malian players not fasting? That was the reason they took the game to 10 p.m. Nigerian time, so that it would have given the opportunity for these players to break their fast, so that they have enough energy. Before now, Ahmed Musa have always, I think there were times in fast, got into the period where Ahmed Musa was playing for Nigeria, and he was still able to score goals at the World Cup. So I'm still asking.
Players have different, body mechanism and all, so we will not compare an Ahmed Musa with
But they had opportunities to eat, and Sadiq Umar is one of the players not happy that he came to the national team two games and he has not been able to play 1 minute. So Finidi George also showed us that he's one who might be as stiff as Genotro, as also stiff as Jose Peseiro, in the sense that these managers before now have always had one major thing that is identified with them, which is not making changes or not even using it as substitutes.
So who is the best man for the job? We have the vacancies still open, of course, the likes of Onyinyechi Emmanuel, we've got Ndubisi Egbo, we've got Mike Nsien, and not forgetting Finidi George, who also applied. And these are their starts. You can see Onyinyechi here. Of course, he's got an average term as a coach of a side at 1.27 years. He's 53 of age. He has had 3 games, 0 wins for Al Markasa, and 2 draws, 1 loss. When he coached Tanzania, he played 9 games. He had 2 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses. And not forgetting, when he was the coach of the Nigerian on the 17th side, he played 12 games, won 7, 2 draws, and 3 losses.
Well, when you look at the plethora of coaches that have applied for the job, fantastic coaches, you might say, you might want to say, and then you look at how well they have reached their CV. With
who has an advantage? Who is at an advantageous position?
From the point of view, from what we've been seeing and indications from the Nigerian Football Federation, I think for Emmanuel Amunike, he's ahead of the rest at the moment, considering the fact that aside his rich CV, he has also been able to go out of Nigeria, go to another African country, to tinker his side with less quality players.
So do you think his familiarity with the players the crop of players who are playing for the Super Eagles right now will help him bond more with the team? Because I'm very sure he coached the likes of Victor Osimhen, Samuel Chukwueze from the under-17 level.
Yes, I think that might also play a major role. He has.
So you think he's the best man?
He has gone through the ranks. Don't forget, he went from the age grade team, which is the under 17, and he took the likes of Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen, Chukwueze, and not also forgetting Victor Boniface was part of his squad that did not make the under 17 World Cup. So I think he's one man who has also looked at being in that particular Discovery Channel, and now he's in the.
Let's see Antonio Conceição there. Of course, I remember he is familiar with the African scene, and he's got a lot in his record. Played 23 matches, won 14, 6 draws, and 3 losses. So can we cut this man some slack?
If we're going to go to the foreign
Former Cameroonian coach.
If we're going to go to the foreign way, we must ask ourselves, do we have the money to pay a foreign coach? Don't forget, we had issues with Genotro. We also had issues with Jose Peseiro. Now, is the NFF ready to take that route? Now, if we have the money to go for a foreign coach, maybe we can go for a better coach and not Conceição. But when it comes to the resources that are available at the moment, then you can now say, okay, let's look at home. Let's look inwards. And don't forget, Onyinyechi, when you look at the African scene at the moment, the coaches doing well in African countries in Africa are homegrown coaches. From Algeria to Senegal to Côte d'Ivoire that won the Nations Cup, they were indigenous coaches. I think we have to also trust that. Even the last Nations Cup we won was won by late Stephen Okechukwu-Keshi.
Then looking at these right now, Finidi George has just been in charge for 2 games. 1 loss, 1 win. The win, of course, will be recorded as something very historic because, a very long time we've not gotten that win against Ghana. And in a rivalry like that, a coach picks a win at his first game in charge of the Super Eagles. Don't you think we should not just we shouldn't overlook that success and still give him a chance? Because a lot of people with their tweets are not happy. They've written him off as the coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
I think the reason why some persons, or a lot of persons, are also not happy with what went down.
He has played more matches, 88. You can see there.
Is the fact that he has been with the team long enough, and amongst the candidates or whoever candidates are currently applying for the job.
Do you think because he's coming from the Nigerian Premier Football League, maybe they want to also promote the league through him?
Promoting the league through him is not, I don't think that's the case, in the sense that Coach Michael Essien, who is currently the coach of the under-19 men's team in the US, he has over time gotten players from the NPFL to FC Tulsa.
Okay.
I mean, Rafael Yangwa is one man he brought into FC Tulsa. Ufonudo, the highest goal scorer in the Nigerian Premier Football League, is one player he brought into FC Tulsa. So he's also an advocate of the NPFL, someone who is in the US, but he's also looking at the NPFL players to take into his club side in the US.
Do you think he's at an advantage because of his exposure away from these candidates we see?
Talking about Essien?
Yes, of course.
No, for Essien, trust me, if we were going to be patient with the job opportunities or with the role of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, maybe I would fancy a Michael Essien. But because Nigerians want instant results. For Michael Essien, if he needs a long-term plan, in the sense that he will probably bring in a lot of things to the team, as a match reader, a stats person, someone who would help his job, work well. He will be able to work in a very good environment and, create an environment.
And you want Michael Essien to be the coach?
No, it's a different one.
Not be the assistant?
I'm giving 2 different narratives now.
Okay, please.
For Amonike, he can actually work in a terrain that is so harsh and difficult because he understands what it is to work in this terrain. Now, if Michael Essien should be favored or would have the opportunity, maybe when you give him a long-term contract or, try to give him time and say, okay, we're patient with you, just make sure you do things. But we all know that Nigeria.
But Nigerians don't have that patience.
That is why
now.
I'm saying that
we're looking, ahead of that game against South Africa for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, and we do not want to keep, test and trials, test and fail or test and win. No, we want someone who would carry the team and let us see that Nigeria Super Eagles we have always known.
And the danger in all of this is the fact that the other coaches who are looking forward to coach Super Eagles of Nigeria will have barely weeks to tinker the side to these games. Now, the only person amongst all of them that has had more time and had an opportunity to play a friendly match is Finidi George.
Okay.
So if you look at this put together, for instance, the next international window or the next time we're playing again is in June, the qualifiers.
Yes.
Now, a new coach that comes in will not have time to test the players, will not have time to arrange the squad. The only time he has is a competitive game. Okay. And when you look at the competitive, Nigerians will not even take any excuse and say, oh, we just got the job, we don't have time to take, So that is why a lot of persons were expecting a bit more for Finidi George, having tinkered the side or having been with the team for the past few months, and then having the opportunity to test them in a friendly that has lesser pressure. that you have to apologize. Okay, let's just test them and see what comes out of it.
Right.
But at the moment, whatever it is, I think the NFF will actually take much of the blame because as of now, you don't have a coach for the national team. It's not what we should be thinking of. Look at Ghana. They settled their coaching issues before this friendly.
Returning
now
the coach who was there with them before,
Before, Ogu-Obaroh now has the opportunity to know, say, okay, I've tested the players. I know who to invite. I know who not to invite.
But let's talk about Ghana. You just brought Ghana to the fore right now. They played their own friendly yesterday against Uganda. They drew against Uganda 2-2. Now, Ghana has been winless for a very long time, since 2007, if I can count, even with the return of Coach Ogu-Obaroh. Now, they keep, going with this high press, getting red card, especially when they go on and counter. They got a red card against Nigeria. And in this match also, Mohamed Salisu got a red card after they drew the game. An international friendly, this is not what we want to see, especially for those who are about the Save Ghana football campaign.
Well, for the Ghanaians, they have lots of issues at the moment. I think there are issues beyond just playing football on the pitch. I mean, they have in-house crisis, whether they like it or not, I would say, because, of course, I've been able to do my findings, especially in the aspect of the Ayew brothers. And the Ayew brothers, according to reports, they have a lot of say in the Ghanaian
But Ghana
team.
had a tweak in their coaching system that should have helped. We should have seen something different.
When the system or a structure is faulty, if you bring the very best of persons to take over, the person has to deal with the problem from the roots. Now, for the Ghanaians, the Ayew brothers have a say. In fact, there are factions in the Ghanaian team. There's a Thomas Partey faction. There's an Andre Ayew brothers faction. If you notice, the first game they played against Nigeria, it was one person taking the free kick. It was one person taking the corner kick. Who was the person? Jordan Ayew. That alone should send the signal that even as Ogu-Obaroh has been appointed,
is not in order.
It's not still in order. There's some players not happy with how much of respect or how much of power that the Ayew brothers have in the Ghanaian national team. So I think this is one of the major things that has also affected the team. The team bond is not as strong as what it used to be when Asamoah Gyan was there. And that is why you see Asamoah Gyan make some tweet. It's actually sending some message to let us know that it is not just about the coaching department. You have to settle it in-house. And so that people will be happy to come play for the national team and not have grudges.
Let's talk about South Africa. They will be our next opponent in June, the next international window for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. South Africa, they led 2 goals. Of course, it was 1-1 before the halftime. Now they led 2 goals with Tembers 1A, scoring a brace for Coach Hugo Broos's charges. But they kept conceding. And I'm like, what is really happening with this team? They play well, high-press football on the pitch of play. You could see that, yes, they're well-coordinated. But at the back, I don't think they've got a defensive power. The strength there is a bit weak.
Well, for South Africa, one of the best brand of football being played in Africa today is South Africa. If you look at the game that South Africa played against Nigeria at the just completed AFCON, Nigeria were lucky to have gone ahead. Via
so you think it's luck?
Yeah, I think penalties is a game of luck.
Both sides came brought something to the party.
If you watch that game, Stanley Nwabali made more crucial saves than.
So they tested Nwabali more.
I'm trying to remember the goalkeeper.
Rowan Williams.
So when you look at also the gameplay, Nigeria struggled to play against the long ball South Africans. I mean, they were able to read Nigeria. They were able to detect what was the most strongest of Nigeria, which is, of course, defending deep. And they started using long balls. Truth Ekong struggled. Semi Ajayi struggled. If not for the goalkeeper, Nigeria probably would not have even made the finals of the
I think they stretched Super Eagles more, the players more in that encounter.
Yes,
they stretched
did.
Them more.
And they're trying to tell us that the new kind of African football resides in South Africa. Look at the team of South Africa. 90% of the team is from a particular club in South Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yes.
A few of them from Orlando Pirates, Super Sport United, and not forgetting Wydad Athletic Club. That's talking about Percy Tau. Then take away that. Also look at the CAF Champions League. Mamelodi Sundowns always and every now and then make the Champions League group stage. They always go straight to the knockout stage and even get to the finals. The recently African Football League champions is Mamelodi Sundowns. So when you look at everything put in place, they are really doing a lot for their team. And Hugo is not a coach you should take for granted. He won the Nations Cup with Cameroon. Aside that, he tinkered Cameroon again, even though he missed out in the World Cup place. Of course, no thanks to what Super Eagles did against him in Uyo. He was able to still go to another country in South Africa
but
and also give them a good brand of football.
This is a team that Super Eagles should watch out for. Compared to what they came up with, that display against Mali, these guys, the Algerians, pressed the Bafana in this encounter. And you could see a team that were ready to go all out for the 2026 qualifiers. I'm hoping that the Super Eagles will take a leaf from this and make sure that they tweak their formation, to tweak their style of play ahead of that encounter. Time that our friend Favour, we have to go to the Euros right now. It is for the Euro 2024. We did see some big results coming from the playoff there. The likes of Wales went up against Poland in a penalty shootout. Poland showed experience in this encounter. Favour, you could see.
Yeah, disappointing night for Wales. I mean, one thing that every country or every club wants to avoid is losing on penalties. It's so painful. It's even better or more less painful when you lose via normal time. Okay, yes, you didn't do your own work, but when it comes to penalties,
it's a game of luck.
It's a game of luck, and Dan James was the man who.
In the midst of all the pain, the war against Russia, Ukraine went up against Iceland, and they were very dominant.
Talk about after the invasion. It has been a long time since they qualified for the Euros, since the Russia, Ukraine, Poland, since the invasion by Russia, and they've been able to also live their dream and tell the country that they've been for them standing by them. That means it's something for us. So we hope to see what they will do for the likes of the Chelsea fans, of Mudryk, for the Arsenal.
So the final draw sees the likes of Georgia. They'll be up in Group F. In that group that's got Turkey, Portugal, and Czech Republic, while Ukraine will be in the group that has got Belgium, Slovakia, and also not forgetting Romania over there in Group E. So big one. Which is the group of death for you, Favour?
Well, for the group of death, we'll get to talk about, I think for Group D, that has Poland.
The
not
Netherlands?
Group D, actually, Group B has Spain, Croatia, and Italy. These sides are sides that have also come, close to winning.
So Albania, they are in soup there.
Yeah, for Italy, they won the last Euros. If any champions, Croatia got to the finals of the World Cup some years ago. Spain also have won the Euros before now, and they've also won the World Cup. So it's going to be a very tough group, especially Albania might just be the side that will concede more of the goals in that particular group. Then maybe you talk about Group D that has Netherlands, Austria, and France, including Poland.
Okay, I can see Georgia in that Group F there, but they will go up against Portugal, Turkey, and Czech Republic. All right, let's wrap up football. Remind you the results from the NBA very quickly. Golden State Warriors in a game that has got a lot of history there. For Steph Curry and Chris Paul, they go up against Miami Heat 113-92. LA Lakers won by 4 points ahead of Milwaukee Bucks in that encounter. Oklahoma City Thunder were also dominant. Dallas Mavericks were also dominant. Chris Paul, historic one for him in that game for Golden State Warriors. In a few seconds, Favour.
Yes, a fantastic one. And the one thing interesting about the NBA the last few days is the fact that players have continued to break records. Now we are getting to see someone doing the steals and the career high steals of 2,600.
Yes.
That's not something you do in a day. That's something you do consistently every now and then. And that's beautiful for the game of basketball.
Yeah, beautiful for the game of basketball. Indeed, it's been an interesting conversation in the studio here with my colleague, Favour Itua. I call him Sports Paparazzi. Thank you so much, Favour, for being with me here on the show. Interesting conversation.
Always a pleasure.
All right, there, we could call it a wrap on the show. Remember, you can get more. Follow, like our social media platforms at News Central TV. Do not forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep a tab with us, 9 p.m. West African time. You get your game on. I am Onyinyechi Ogu-Obaroh. Thank you for being there.